Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Why, hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, by the way? I hope you've all been doing well, and as we are entering upon June, I would also like to go and immediately say Happy Pride Month, and a special shout out to all my fans, to all the viewers, to all the listeners who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. I know that there are many out there who do watch my stuff and that they enjoy what I do. So I want to go and send the love back. In fact, I do have a lot of friends and family members who are part of the community. And even though I identify as straight, I do consider myself a straight ally. And I want to do what I can in order to give back to the community and to go and also help them out in order to go and pursue the ultimate goal of equal rights around the world. But with this month in particular, I hope that you all make the most that you can to feel free to be yourselves and especially to train more to love yourself, because this is what this month is all about. It's about love. To keep loving yourself so that you can keep on carrying that throughout the entire year. So I just want to go and have a special shout out on that. But with that said, though, yes, Pride Month has officially begun, and hopefully you all had a very nice weekend. I know I certainly have. In fact, you may remember last week I did mention that I have a bit of an acting job that I had to do. Well, it was a little bit of a practice just after the episode. Like, I had a table read that I had to go and attend to, like after the last episode occurred, which is why I had to go and cut it short. But then on the weekend, I actually did do the acting job, and it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun. And it was great working with the cast and crew over there. And I'll just say now that what I worked on was a short film, a live action short film. And usually the turnaround on these things, they actually work quite quickly. And they told me that the short is going to be released in the next few weeks. So at the latest, it would be at the end of this month, if not somewhere around the second half. So I just want to go and state that right now. So stay tuned for it. I'll definitely be giving that a shout out on my social media. But that is not why we are here. What we are here for is actually for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, which we will have a lot of fun in store and a whole bunch of animation news and some interesting discussions to be had. Now, I know that last week did end up becoming quite chaotic, especially when it came out on YouTube, but I can assure you this time it will go a little bit easier, but maybe some chaos will still ensue. After all, this is the Crazy Cartoon Cast after all. But with that said, now I would like to go and pass this down to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. Are you actually ready? Let's see. Oh, I even got some bits. Thank you, Chocolate9K. Let's see now. Yes, I see people are prepared. That is wonderful to see. All right, so if we're all ready, we might as well go and begin. And let us now go and get things started. And with our first one, we're going to go and talk about a special event that occurred called Netflix's Tadum. Now, for those of you who don't know what Tadum is basically Netflix's version of Nintendo Direct. This is when they would go and make some major announcements regarding some of the upcoming projects that's going to be in store on the platform. So, of course, they got a bunch of announcements and some new information that's been revealed in regards to some highly anticipated shows, including Stranger Fate, including Stranger Things, Squid Games, and One Piece. And then there's also some extra trailers that we would go and see as well, including for the upcoming sequel to Happy Gilmore. But I think out of all of the announcements that they brought up, this is the one that really caught my attention. Like, at the most, maybe there are a few things that do look cool, but they don't necessarily pique my interest per se. But this is the one, however, that did catch my attention. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin this episode by checking out the teaser trailer for the upcoming Netflix movie, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
I had determined that the memory of my evils...
Victor!
And that is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, to which it is going to be released on Netflix this November. Now, first of all, I just want to go and address this, that even though this is going to be a Netflix movie, Guillermo del Toro previously did state that this will also have a theatrical run. Maybe not necessarily a big theatrical release, but I got the feeling that it's going to be similar to what he did with Pinocchio, in which it is going to have like a limited release in a few places, and then from there, he will go and fully release it onto Netflix. So just want to let you know that if you do want to experience it on, this on the big screen, he did say that you will do so, but the main place that you could go and check it out will be on Netflix. Now, I think it is safe to say that I definitely am a fan of Guillermo del Toro. His movies have been absolutely incredible, and even some of the most imaginative that we have gotten. In a way, I guess the best way to describe Guillermo del Toro is that as a filmmaker, and I know it might sound like massive, but the best way to say is that he's like this dark and twisted Walt Disney, that he's taking these stories that we're all familiar with and just presenting them in this uniquely dark way, in a way that embraces the macabre, in the way that it embraces just the twisted nature of what is not considered normal in the world. And a lot of times he would go and adapt fairy tales and classic books, kind of like what we have seen with his version of Pinocchio, or even with The Shape of Water, that is actually a bit of a special adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. And now he is going to go and tell the story of Frankenstein. And in this one, with the trailer that we have seen, obviously, he's going in a more different direction than what we are mostly familiar with in terms of Frankenstein. Because when you talk about that, a lot of us focus so much onto the monster. You know, you think about the monster that... Okay, hold on a sec. I don't know if this is picking up because I do hear some lawnmowers happening outside. But anyways, as I was saying, hopefully it doesn't pick up on the mic. But yes, when it comes to Frankenstein, a lot of people think about the monster, and you think about like the mad scientist creating the monster. It's very monster-centric. But in this trailer, what we have seen in this quote-unquote teaser, you know, because it's not really much of a teaser, more like just a regular trailer. Anyways, in here, the big focus that they are showing us so far is just Victor Frankenstein, like literally emphasizing how he really is a mad scientist. And not to mention, they barely showed anything in terms of the actual monster. And basically just showing Victor's pursuit in trying to become God. Basically to try to create life out of his own crazy experiments. It's that entire pursuit that he's mainly going for. And in a way, Guillermo seems to be sticking closer to the book that the whole thing is based on, instead of going with the typical iconography that everyone is familiar with that has been established by Universal, especially with the classic movie with Boris Karloff. And I'm pretty sure, like, I wouldn't be surprised that if we actually do see the monster, it's not going to look the same as the Boris Karloff version. In fact, like, we only got a little bit of a taste of what the monster looks like. So it's like right at the end, after we see the credits, it's just like right over here going on a rampage, and then the monster just goes,
Victor!
Like, it's just right over here. Like, you just see this like very hooded, shadowy figure, and oh my goodness, already some people are simping. I just glanced a second onto the chat wall, and someone even mentions, like, the monster is hot in the book. Oh, really now? No, but for real, it is very interesting to see that this is the most that we're getting so far in terms of how the monster looks. It's just a hooded figure. And I guess, like, that would be Netflix's excuse to make this a teaser, just because they're not going to reveal the monster. But I will say, though, with everything else, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And that's the thing with Guillermo del Toro's movies. And one thing that it deserves a lot more credit. I mean, like, his storytelling is definitely top notch, but it's also the scenery, the way that he creates his designs. Like, they are absolutely beautiful. Like, one of my favorite shots is actually right over here, where we see Victor's laboratory, and you just see the intricate design and even the use of colors, like that strong shade of green. It almost looks like Guillermo is renting the set of Wicked in order to go and use Victor Frankenstein's lab. Like, there's a lot of these great looking moments. Even one time, like, you see, like, they're just carrying this unique looking tombstone where we do see the head. I guess that part would be open casket. And then the rest is like a coffin that is built like some kind of sheet that's wrapped around him. But also, like you just see many of these great moments, even during like this part right here also, when Victor Frankenstein is presenting his experiment in front of like all of his peers and all the esteemed scientists and stuff like that with what he's doing. Like, so far, the little shots that we have been getting, they, like, a lot of these are just absolutely fantastic, just to go and highlight Victor's pursuit in order to become God, in order to go and actually create life. And even in that snippet, I also got to say, like, one thing that is also very exciting to go and see is in regards to Oscar Isaac with his performance as Victor Frankenstein. And you could tell he's really going all out to present him as this crazy scientist, because he knows that what he is trying to create and what he is trying to pursue, like, it's absolutely insane. It's the kind of thing that when people would hear that, they would most likely go and give him a straitjacket and send him to the asylum, especially in those times. But then you see, like, with him, there is, like, with Oscar Isaac, though, like, yes, there is that aspect where he really is leaning in on the crazy, but he's also adding in the charisma that Victor Frankenstein had in the original book. And you can tell in here, he can be persuasive, like, especially like at the beginning, like when he's talking to people, like over here.
Some of what I will tell you is fact. Some is not. But it is all true.
Like, there's something about it that there's on one hand, like, he's very persuasive and he knows how to sell his words. But then on the other hand, there's another part of it where you know the dude is crazy. You know that some of the things, like, it sounds nonsensical. And even he's kind of self-aware about it, where even he said it himself. It's like, I'm going to say facts, but also I'm going to not say facts as well. But I'll show you that everything I say is true. Which, I mean, there's something about it that seems like it sounds very intelligent, but there's also something about it that you got to really think about what he said. It's like, does it actually make sense? But anyways, I will say overall, though, when it comes to this trailer, it definitely does make me excited to see what is in store with Guillermo del Toro and his adaptation of Frankenstein. I mean, so far, I've been loving the works that he has been doing, especially with stuff like The Shape of Water and Pinocchio. So with this one, I can't wait to see with what's going to be in store here. So if you are excited for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, then keep in mind that the movie will be coming out later this year in November. And so with that said, now I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the teaser trailer of Frankenstein? Are you guys excited for this? Are you guys a little bit iffy on it? I would like to know what you think. And also, I might as well go and ask, make a little bit of a poll here. So I want to go and ask, let's see, are you, actually, you know what? Yeah, I don't know. It feels too early to ask if you're going to go and watch it. Actually, we're like, fudge. I'm trying to think like what other questions I should go and ask, but, you know what? I think I might get one. I think I have one. Did the trailer make you excited for GDT's, Frankenstein? There we go. That makes more sense. So I'll put in yes. I'll put in no. And we'll start the poll and see what the chat wall has to say. All right. As someone who is a fan of Guillermo del Toro's works, this trailer really got me interested. Visually, it's absolutely gorgeous, and Oscar Isaac's performance is very solid so far. So overall, this has so much potential. This definitely was one of my highlights that came out of Tudum this year, alongside seeing new information revealed about the final seasons, about Squid Game, and Stranger Things. All right, very nice. Let's see now. Really, another Del Toro movie. Count me in. I haven't watched every single movie by Guillermo, the two Hellboys, The Shape of Water, and Pinocchio, but this revisitation of the Mary Shelley story might be worth it, might be worth my interest. I will surely watch it, but only if this movie doesn't go beyond the 2-hour mark. Hopefully, it will be somewhat released in theaters in France, or I'll go see it with my mom's Netflix account. All right, interesting. Let's see now. I've already mentioned many times that I love Guillermo del Toro, both as a filmmaker and as a fun person every time I see him in real life. So yeah, his adaptation of Frankenstein absolutely looks amazing. Oscar Isaac is perfect casting as Victor Frankenstein. The creativity looks as great as previous Guillermo del Toro films, and I'll definitely see it on the big screen. Also, I do remember that this might be Del Toro's last live-action film, since he's going that he's going to do, since he wants to do more animated films for the rest of his life. Yeah, I did hear about that actually. Like, he wants to lean in a lot more onto animation, and that Frankenstein might be his last. Maybe he might do one more, but we are reaching the end of Guillermo del Toro's live-action era. And then soon, we're going to see a lot more animated works from him. So in that regards, I'm honestly pretty excited. Let's see. Any other comments that people have? All right. This looks interesting. Love the look and spectacle. I should really watch Del Toro's other works. Oh, Mia Goth is in this? I love her in the X trilogy. Oscar Isaac is as talented as usual. So this sounds like a good movie. All right. Any other comments? Now Guillermo is here, and his dark, twisted style is back. He truly makes Victor Frankenstein seem so mad he belongs in Guantanamo it seems like is that how you say it? Guantanamo Bay, and that the monster being hidden adds to the suspense of it all. This is going to be a mad movie, but most everyone is mad here. I see where you're going with that comment. All right, let's see. Another Guillermo del Toro movie. Sure, why not? This looks very interesting, and this trailer might have sold me to check it out. The production design, acting from Oscar Isaac, and visuals look fantastic. The only films I've seen from Del Toro was Pacific Rim and Pinocchio, but I'll keep an eye out on this. And by the way, it is worth mentioning that on the poll that I have created, it is almost unanimous, with the exception of one vote who said no. Almost every one of you is excited for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. And there might be a pretty good chance that does mean that maybe you guys are going to go and actually watch this movie. I don't blame you, because honestly, I want to check it out as well. Hopefully during the holidays, I will have time. I mean, we will see, but you never know with how many animated films are going to be coming out, like doing that big round of reviews. You know what I mean? All right. There's not as many comments as I thought. I think I'll go and read one more. I'll go with this one. As someone who is into Guillermo del Toro for a long time now, with Pinocchio being one of my favorite films, and love The Simpsons couch gag and the Treehouse of Horror, I am super curious about this movie. Since I am a bit of horror ones, I still have Netflix, so I'm going to watch it when it comes out. All right, so it looks like many of you are very much hyped up. This does seem like a very solid trailer. It even impressed me. So once again, I'd like to let you know that if you are excited to go and check out Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, then keep in mind that the movie will be coming out on Netflix in November. Now, regarding when it's going to be coming out in theaters specifically, I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, so we're going to go on to our first break, and when we do come back, we will go and what is possibly the biggest animation news of last week, as we are going to see the Return of the King. And no, I'm not talking about Lord of the Rings here, so stay tuned for that. And we're back. Now, on our next story, we actually got a trifecta of animation news, considering that this is all related to one beloved animated series. In fact, at its time, it was one of the biggest adult animated shows on television, right next to Simpsons and Family Guy. But eventually, all good things had to come to an end, and it ended off right at season 13, so it definitely had a good major run. But for a few years now, we have heard that eventually it was going to make a comeback, and on Hulu nonetheless. And quite fitting, considering that in recent years, Hulu has been the home where cartoons come back to life, and we have seen many animated revivals down at Hulu, including Animaniacs, Futurama, and coming soon, they are going to do so with The Amazing World of Gumball, or as it's soon going to be called, The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. But I'll tell you what, now we're going to be focusing on a different revival, and this is not necessarily a trailer, but instead, we're going to go and check out the new intro of the series. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the intro for the revival, or the season 14 of King of the Hill. And that was the intro to season 14 of King of the Hill, to which it shall begin on Hulu on August 4th. And as you have seen in this trailer, a lot of time has passed. So basically, the time passage between season 13 and season 14, it kind of reflects a little bit on our reality as well, especially when we have seen some significant updates, especially on the Hill family, and probably the most noticeable of them all is Bobby himself. So we're going to have to be prepared for an adult Bobby on this. But don't worry, though, the same voice actress is going to be coming back to voice Bobby. So it's just the only difference now is just Bobby is physically bigger. But at the same time, however, right as this intro was officially released, we have also seen the announcement of a new voice actor. Maybe not a new voice actor per se, but we have now found someone who will be providing the voice of Dale Gribble, one of Hank's good friends, which is going to be none other than Toby Huss. Yes, Toby Huss is now going to officially be the voice of the crazy Dale Gribble. And just to let you know, beforehand, Toby was actually a part of the cast of the original run of King of the Hill, to which he provided the voice of characters such as, hopefully I will say this right because this is a big name, Khan Sufanos, yeah, okay, Khan Sufanos Symphony, hopefully I said it right, and also the voice of Cotton Hill. So he is now also going to be the voice of Dale Gribble. And you may remember the reason why King of the Hill had to go and find a new voice for Dale is mainly because the original voice, specifically Johnny Hardwick, has unfortunately passed away back in 2023. And it even did mention here that that Johnny, before he did pass away, he was able to provide his voice on a few episodes of season 14. Specifically, there are going to be 6 of them that we will be hearing his voice. But then afterwards, that's when the responsibility will be given to Toby Huss. And in fact, even on this article on Variety, it did mention that at the end of episode 6, we are going to see a bit of a tribute message, which is going to be right over here, where it says, in loving memory, Johnny Hardwick, with a picture of Dale on one side, and the other is Johnny and a couple of his friends, or I guess people who have worked on King of the Hill also. So yeah, I just want to go and quickly mention that. So there is the answer to who's going to be voicing Dale from now on, now that King of the Hill is going to be coming back. But also, just want to quickly go back into what King of the Hill... Actually, you know what? Before I go and actually do so, there is something I would like to go and address. And this is unfortunately something that did happen just today, or the day that I am recording this. It's in regards to another voice actor of King of the Hill, specifically Jonathan Joss, who is the voice of primarily... who's he the voice again? The voice of John it's trying to remember. John Corn, like I remember, I did read about it, but I'm trying to remember. It's John Redcorn. Thank you so much, chat. Okay, I needed help on that, so thank you for bringing it up. But yes, sadly, the voice of John Redcorn, Jonathan Joss, has sadly passed away, or at least it was announced that he had passed away. And the reason why, well, unfortunately, it was a very tragic story where basically the short form of it is that he got into a heated argument with his neighbor, and the neighbor brought out his gun and shot Jonathan, which unfortunately caused his death. And yes, it was reported that the neighbor was caught by the police and is currently arrested. But the long story of it, there's actually a very tragic story, and this is a post that is made by his husband, Tristan Kern de Gonzalez, in which he actually put out a statement. And this is not going to be easy to go through, but I think it is important to go and read this to you all. So it actually says here, statement from Tristan Kern de Gonzalez, husband of Jonathan Joss. My husband, Jonathan Joss, and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. That home was burned down after over 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times and nothing was done. Throughout that time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear that they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs and its harness placed in clear view. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violent homophobic slurs at us. He then raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Jonathan is my husband. He gave me more love in our time together than most people ever get. We were newlyweds. We picked Valentine's Day. We were in the process of looking for a trailer and planning our future. He was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other. I was with him when he passed. I told him how much he was loved. To everyone who supported him, his fans, his friends, know that he valued you deeply. He saw you as family. My focus now is on protecting Jonathan's legacy and honoring the life we built together. If your concern is how someone coped with trauma or how loudly they speak when recounting injustice and being ignored by authorities, then you never truly cared about my husband. Jonathan saved my life. I will carry that forward. I will protect what he built. Yeah, again, this is not an easy read, and I understand how this is something that can bubble up some anger within you. Trust me, I was sad and angry when I did read this, especially when it highlights one of the biggest problems of how America is infested with such illegals that don't deserve to live in America, such as homophobes and racists. But in this case, with homophobia, this is why America will never be great again until it becomes a safe place for the LGBTQ+ to live, where they no longer have to fear homophobia. And especially considering that this is Pride Month, this is why the story of Jonathan Joss needs to be highlighted, needs to be brought up, and how homophobia is a serious crime that needs to be called out, and another prime example that America will never be great again until hate speech is separated from freedom of speech and that it is considered illegal. There is no such thing as a good person who does not support LGBTQ+ rights, and they have no right to call themselves Christian. They can only say that they are Christian if they love everyone, including the LGBTQ+ community. So this is why I just want to go and highlight this story and to go and bring this up, especially when it does relate to someone who did work on King of the Hill. And my condolences to Tristan. And I hope that you do succeed at your job to go and carry on Jonathan's legacy and to go and even help things out in terms of these kinds of traumatic events where innocent couples such as Tristan and Jonathan get horrendously attacked by anti-American criminals such as homophobes in this kind of manner. So again, America will never be great again when LGBTQ+ rights is codified and that homophobia is illegal, especially when homophobes will be illegal and that they don't deserve to live in America until they can say gay rights are human rights. So that's just something that I want to go and bring up, to go and highlight this and, to mention the important value of this story right here. Now, with that said, if we could take a moment to go back into King of the Hill, when talking about this, there is, of course, a significant update as to what they have presented here with this new version of King of the Hill. And I do believe in this article on Variety, they did also highlight what this is going to be about. Let's see. Yes. Okay. It's right over here where they mentioned what has happened ever since, in which it says right over here, the log line for the new season: after years of working a propane job in Saudi Arabia to earn their retirement nest egg, Hank and Peggy Hill returned to a changed Arlen, Texas to reconnect with old friends Dale, Boomhauer, and Bill. Meanwhile, Bobby is living his dream as a chef in Dallas and enjoying his 20s with his former classmates Connie, Joseph, and Kane. So there is going to be that aspect in which it's still going to be that slice of life that we all know, but now it's all about reconnecting with old friends. And one thing that I will say that already with this intro alone, like, it already told us the whole story of what has happened in between season 13 and 14, including the temporary moment of what the three boys have to do without Hank, and even showing us like some of the current things that has occurred. Like, one funny thing is actually even highlighting what has happened during the pandemic. Like, in fact, like, we had this moment right over here. Like, yeah, like with this moment, you see everybody is like, you know, they're distancing themselves, and then we got the black guy who was trying to replace Hank. I'm not saying he's that he's trying to, it's just they were trying to find a replacement. And not to mention, like, even bringing up like just a quick moment in which Bill ends up catching COVID first. And then, like, for the longest time, you know, things have changed. We've seen like the impact of the pandemic, and even mentioning like Dale trying to become the mayor. So I don't know how that's going to go in this, but yeah, like, you do see a lot, like, you see a lot of the events, and honestly, I would not be surprised if maybe we are going to see like some mentions or like a lot of, you know, a lot of catching up. Like, they will go and, you know, bring up like what are some of the things that they have done while Hank and Peggy were in Saudi Arabia. And by the way, it is also worth mentioning that maybe some of you have seen this, but there was actually a full-on legitimate trailer that was presented, I think at the same time when they announced like some of the new things coming up in season 14 of King of the Hill, like when the intro was released and when they talked about how Toby Huss is going to be Dale and stuff like that. I think at the same time they did show an official trailer, and that actually got leaked onto the internet. And I'm not going to go into too much details. I think I'm going to go and talk about it when it does officially get released online, which I can imagine will probably be soon or maybe sometime next month. But I will say that you could tell that the old spirit of King of the Hill is going to be coming back, and there have been some funny moments in that trailer also. So it's going to be very, very fascinating. But I will say, however, that I do understand that there is also some concerns in regards to the return of King of the Hill, and that is in regards to the social commentary aspect. Is King of the Hill going to be talking about social commentary about how things are nowadays? Because some people are worried that with Mike Judge, especially when he's going to be coming back working on this, since he is the creator of King of the Hill, that maybe it's not going to be handled that well. Maybe it will lean in too much into one side of the political spectrum, or maybe in the other. Like, are they going to go and talk about some very touchy material? Like, will they be talking about Donald Trump? Will they be talking about LGBTQ plus rights? Will, like, of course, maybe they'll have an episode talking about how things were with COVID and stuff like that. Maybe there might be something that they will bring up, that they will go and discuss. And some people are worried if it's going to be handled well or if it's going to be handled terribly. That I don't know. I think that's going to be an aspect that we will ultimately have to wait and see. But so far, there's been a whole lot of interesting events that's been going on. We got our answer on who's going to be the new Dale. We unfortunately lost Jonathan Joss, aka the voice of John Redcorn. And also, we know that King of the Hill will be coming back pretty soon. So, if you are interested in the return of King of the Hill, then keep in mind that the series will be coming back on Hulu on August 4th. Now, with that said, I know there's a lot to go and try to sink in on this story, but now I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you think of this big update on King of the Hill? Is there anything you would like to go and say so far? Your first impressions on the intro, how you think the voice of Cotton Hill is going to do as Dale, or if you have any words you would like to express in regards to the passing of Jonathan Joss, let me know what you all think. All right, so let's see what we got here. Personally, don't care about King of the Hill. I'm glad people are excited for it. Might watch it someday, but I am more interested in the whole story with Jonathan Joss. It's proof the hate crimes towards the gays still exist. That the targets aren't just trans people. Joss was also a Comanche descent, so it's also a hate crime towards a Native American man. Though granted, he wasn't living on a reservation, he might actually get legal justice and not rely on tribal law. Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. This is a murder that was caused because of a hate crime. So whoever killed Jonathan Joss, that criminal needs to be called out and made an example out of. Because trying to kill someone based on homophobia or just these homophobic attacks, they should not be welcomed, especially in 2025. This is not okay. This shouldn't be considered a political factor or anything like that. There is no such thing as a good person who does not support LGBTQ plus rights. And if you have a problem with someone of the same gender marrying someone marrying another person of the same gender, then the problem is you. This is really a serious factor, which again, America will not be great again until homophobia is criminalized. That people are scared to be open about homophobia, or not be scared to be open about homophobia, but to be scared to be homophobic. That they are more safe to be supportive to LGBTQ plus rights instead of being against it. So I just want to go and mention that and call out the illegals who don't have the common sense to say gay rights are human rights. Let's see what else we got here. I have never watched King of the Hill before, but it sounds like a fun adult animated series, and I am thinking I will watch some episodes before the revival comes out. It's sad that Jonathan Joss passed away, and I hope they get justice soon. Also, I'm currently taking a story mentorship from storyboard artist named Sia, and yes, she worked on storyboards for the King of the Hill revival. Ooh, nice. That's good. That's going to be fun. Let's see now. Not gonna lie, you guys, I got a strong nostalgia vibe when I saw this new version of King of the Hill intro. I do think this will be a great comeback for Hank Hill since he doesn't look that much older, while Peggy is aging worse than Hank. Okay, well, that's a little bit mean, don't you think? I don't know. Yeah, it shows that with Peggy, I mean, She is a little bit older, I will say. It's noticeable that maybe she's in her 60s or somewhere around that, give or take. But I mean, she still looks good. Especially for her age, she is fine. I just want to go and state that. Sorry for trying to defend. Sorry that I suddenly went into an outburst of trying to defend Peggy, but I'm just saying, She's still a fine woman, even if age is coming to her. But anyways, let's see here. Bobby is looking pretty good for his age. I can't wait to get back to Texas this summer. Jonathan Joss will not be forgotten, ever. Exactly. Let's see. Are there any comments from people who have seen King of the Hill? Just out of curiosity. Let's see. Oh, yes. I'm really happy that King of the Hill, even though I didn't watch the episodes from the original series, and I should definitely give them a chance. It's really cool that they're bringing them back, given that there's been a lot going on in the world after it ended. As for Jonathan Joss, it's really heartbreaking to hear his passing over homophobia and being a Native American. My condolences to his husband for the sad loss. To quote Hank, "This is going to be a fine revival, I'll tell you what." Of course. Let's see any other comments. I've only seen a few episodes of King of the Hill, but I am pretty excited for this. And the future update will be a nice refresher. But the whole Jonathan Joss situation, he gets all my respect for his and his family. And I hope that and I hope that the killer gets a sentence for a long time. Exactly. Like, you don't kill American heroes like that. And I think, like, what Jonathan Joss has done, like, that's what he is. A full-on American hero, especially when his final actions is saving the life of the person that he loves. So that's the thing. Jonathan Joss is what America should be, not whatever the freaking killer did. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we go on to the next story. Let's see here. I'll be straight. I never saw King of the Hill, let alone any adult programs with actors involved. But given my regards to say, I never felt sorry for losing someone like Joss. I could hardly believe it myself since it happened not far from my home. But I say for Joss, even to injustice, he was indeed a hero. He sacrificed his life to save his husband, a real symbol of Pride Month. Let us all have a clear head and say, so sorry, may he rest in peace. Exactly, man. So this is all to say that, yes, if you guys are interested in checking out the King of the Hill revival, it will be out on August 4th on Hulu. And may Jonathan Joss rest in peace. And may John Redcorn, and his voice actor especially, be seen as an American hero. And I think for Pride Month, he should be highlighted. All right, so with that said, we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, we're going to be looking into the business of preschool shows. And there seems to be an interesting twist that's been going on regarding one of the biggest preschool shows out there, when it decided to move platforms. So stay tuned for that little story. And we're back. Now, on our next story, we're going to be talking about preschool shows and how the business is definitely booming thanks to streaming. And there have been a lot of major players. In fact, you might have recalled when we talked about that Bloomberg Cartoon Network article, we even got a glimpse as to how some streaming platforms are going in terms of trying to get the attention of kids, particularly with preschoolers as well. And the big players so far have been YouTube, Netflix, and Disney+, in which, if we are talking about the demographic between 2 and 5 years old, Disney+ is the big winner. But then recently, we have heard an interesting development in terms of one of the biggest brands aimed for preschoolers, in which they are going to be moving. They were a big deal when they were on Netflix, but pretty soon, they're going to be moving out to Disney+. Yes, and what I'm going to be talking about is specifically about Cocomelon. That series, ever since it was on Netflix back in 2020, it was doing very well. But then suddenly came the announcement that now they decided that they're going to go and move on to Disney Plus in the year 2027. Now, the reason why they decided to go and make that move is mainly because of the fact that, well, the popularity is not as strong as what it used to be. At least that's what they say on Netflix, where apparently the viewership went down by 60%. Now, I will go and read you here from my source on Variety, in which it says right over here, Cocomelon, which first joined Netflix in 2020, will officially head to Disney Plus in 2027. While Cocomelon had once been a considered draw for young viewers among Netflix's licensed content, the streaming giant claims that viewership has declined almost 60% from 2023 H1 to 2024 H2. Nielsen also shows a significant dip in traffic. Cocomelon failed to crack Nielsen's top 10 acquired programming charts in 2024, while in 2023, it ranked at number 5. But even then, Cocomelon remains as one of Netflix's most watched programs. Now, keep in mind that this is only exclusively about the Cocomelon show. And the thing is that the other shows that the studio, which is Moonbug Entertainment, they're still going to be staying on Netflix. Specifically, shows like Blippi and the Cocomelon spinoff, Cocomelon Lane, in which it even states that Season 1 amassed more than 50 million views in 2024 H2, which is more than any season of Cocomelon. Kids and family programming accounts for 15% of Netflix's total viewers. So yeah, while Netflix is still going to have Cocomelon Lane, pretty soon the original Cocomelon will be heading towards Disney Plus. Now, I know it sounds weird for me to go and suddenly talk about this, especially with the fact that, I'm going to be honest with you all, I am not really familiar with Cocomelon. I mean, it's something that at the most I've heard about it, and I know that it was very popular. Like, it started off on the internet, like on YouTube. It gathered millions upon millions of subscribers. The episodes they would make there would actually amass billions of views. Like, it's actually not uncommon for a video from Cocomelon to have like over 1 billion views or something like that. And but in regards to the specifics about Cocomelon, is that, okay, yeah, sure, it is very popular. It started on the internet, and then it even got bigger once it got onto Netflix, and then suddenly we see merchandise suddenly coming in. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I did hear that eventually that there is going to be a Cocomelon movie that's going to be coming soon, and that DreamWorks is also going to be involved with it. I don't know when specifically that's going to happen, but I did hear that is also going to be a thing. In fact, let me double check actually. Did they also reveal when that's going to be released? Okay. Thank you, Jay Monty. Apparently it's going to be for 2027. Wow, quite a massive coincidence considering that it's going to be at the same time as Disney Plus getting Cocomelon. So that's going to be very interesting. The popularity has very much skyrocketed, where now Cocomelon is one of the biggest preschool franchises out there. But I will also say that when it comes to Cocomelon, in terms of the quality of the show, I did not hear great things about it. In fact, I've heard many people say that allegedly it's pretty much preschool brain rot. It's not the kind of show that has a form of substance in the veins of either Bluey or Paw Patrol or anything like that. Apparently, yeah, it's not a great show, and it's just really brainless entertainment for children to go and consume. Again, that is what I've heard. I don't know if that's true whatsoever. That's just from apparently that's what many people have said about Cocomelon. And like, here I am just looking into this like, why is it called Cocomelon? I only see a dumb baby. Like, what does it have to do with either cocoa or melons? I have no idea. But yeah, so that's what I've been hearing. So why even bring this up? Why even talk about this? Well, honestly, it's actually in regards to the fact that Cocomelon is going to be moving onto Disney Plus. And as I stated before, Disney Plus has been the dominant streaming platform in terms of preschool shows. Like for shows that are aimed for 2 to 5 year olds, they are the masters of that. Especially with the fact that on Disney Plus, they have 3 of the biggest preschool shows out there, or at least the most streamed popular shows that you could find. Basically, the top 3 biggest preschool shows on streaming, they are on Disney Plus. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. So, of course, Disney Plus has Bluey, which I've seen in the chat wall have stated that it is the GOAT of preschool shows right now. It also has Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which is the Marvel preschool spinoff that they have, starring the 3 Spider-Mans that we all know and love, including Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, and Miles Morales. And then there's also Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And with Cocomelon, it's not that far behind. At the very least, I would say Cocomelon is among the top 10 biggest preschool shows. And now that Disney Plus is going to have Cocomelon, I don't know how it's going to really perform on that platform, but considering that the movie is also going to be released, that will be a boost for Disney Plus for sure. Like, if they could tie in the fact that they have Cocomelon at the same time as the movie is going to be coming out, then yeah, it's going to be a big deal. And it is going to make Disney Plus a bigger and bigger factor where it's going to be the must-have platform for new parents. Like, it's already enough that they have the top 3 preschool shows. And this is not even to mention its legendary collection of animated features and animated shows. And not to mention the stuff that they would have for kids and families and stuff like that, both modern and classic. But now with the addition of Cocomelon, oh yeah, I think in the long run, Disney Plus is going to be a massive streaming force. It already is right now, but it's going to give it a bigger leverage, especially for that audience compared to Netflix and stuff like that. But this is not to go and say that, oh, Disney Plus is going to become a monopoly in terms of streaming aimed for preschoolers. Because the others as well, they got some of their own stuff prepared. Like Netflix, for example, they still got a bunch of popular preschool shows that they are ready to go and compete against Disney with. Like, on top of the fact that, yeah, even though they won't have Cocomelon anymore, they do have Cocomelon Lane. And also, Netflix does have Paw Patrol, which that alone is already a powerhouse of a franchise. So already by having that, Netflix can easily go and compete against Disney. Like, even using Paw Patrol is enough to compete against Bluey. And of course, I gotta go and bring up the fact that now Netflix did acquire Sesame Street, which also that's going to be a big help for them. Especially now that, technically you can have the option of just either watching it on Netflix, or you could go and check it out onto PBS and stuff like that. Still though, having Sesame Street is already a big win for Netflix right there. Now, I've already talked about that story, but it's just to go and bring it up, considering that we are on this particular subject right over here. So yeah, in terms of how things are with the competitiveness of streaming, I think Disney Plus is going to have a bit of an upper hand, at least in terms of that target demographic, and it will give more incense for new parents especially to go and maintain their subscription onto Disney Plus. I mean, it's enough that they cannot let it go, no pun intended, Elsa, that they cannot let it go with stuff like Bluey or Moana or any of the other Disney classics that the parents might feel nostalgic for. But now, with the fact that they'll have Cocomelon Lane, say what you will about that show, but already with Disney going to get it in 2027, especially around the same time that the movie is going to be coming out, oh yeah, it's going to be a big boost. I think this is, again, no pun intended, a plus for Disney Plus. All right, so with that said now that I've made my comment on this, I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about Cocomelon moving to Disney Plus in 2027. Do you think this is going to be a big gain for Disney Plus? Do you think it's going to be a bit more of a detriment? Or especially, I'd like to know, what do you think about Cocomelon? Because I've heard a bunch of stuff about Cocomelon. Like, I want to know, why is it that people either love it or people hate it? Like, help me get familiar with Cocomelon here. All I know is that it is a very popular preschool show. That's it. Okay, now, let's see. I don't imagine Cocomelon being part of the Disney family, considering the fact that we already have shows like Bluey, Mickey Mouse, Clubhouse, Spidey and His Amazing Friends being popular on Disney Plus. That means I bet the Cocomelon people are just doing that so that they can get views after the Netflix viewing for it has died down a bit. But let's not hope Cocomelon will also air on the Disney Channel as well on its Disney Junior block to promote the Cocomelon movie. In terms of that, honestly, I don't know. Maybe Disney could do it. Maybe they might not. But so far, it looks like it's just going to be the streaming rights. Like, so far, this is only confirmed for streaming. I don't know if they will go into that further extent. Like, if Disney would also have the television rights onto Cocomelon. I think that's going to be another, like, that's another thing in its entirety. Okay, let's see now. Oh God, not Cocomelon. I have heard about this cringy looking ass show for a long time. I don't like it based on what I've seen for a bit. It just doesn't teach kids anything about the world or anything educational at all. Shows like Bluey was not only good for preschoolers, but for parents. Also, a DreamWorks movie? That's just stretching it. That film is going to be the new Norm of the North. Just wait and see. Okay, I mean, I'm not judging. I'm not going to be defending Cocomelon. I'm not going to say you're wrong or whatever. I'm just ultimately in a wait and see kind of thing. You know, honestly, you know what? We have some time, and I do apologize, folks, but I am just so curious as to, like, I want to see something for Cocomelon. I want to see, like, what the fridge is going on with this whole thing. Okay, so I see, I see over here, like, what is this? Apparently, like, nursery rhymes with Cocomelon. So I'm just going to wait and see.
This message is consultant approved.
Okay, hold on a sec. We got a Canada's Wonderland trailer. I just need to go and skip that. I just want to see for myself, like, what is it about Cocomelon that has everyone hating? All right, so let me. Okay.
I want to be the turn for everyone.
Okay, do you have?
We can share the fun.
Okay. You know what? All right, I think I'm done. Okay, I think I'm good. Okay, this honestly, maybe this is not like a bright example of it, but it's like I look at this and I'm like, yeah, this looks kind of stupid. I don't know. It's just, yeah, like, of course, I mean, it's safe to say the animation doesn't look that hot. It doesn't look all that great. Honestly, and like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, safe to say, of course, it's not for me because I'm like multiple times too old for this. But yeah, I don't know. It's just trying to do the nursery rhyme thing. Ain't worth it, man. It doesn't seem to work. All right. Anyways, back to the chat wall. Let's see what else you have to say here. When it comes to Cocomelon, while I do think it will be a win for Disney Plus, however, I agree the show itself is basically brain rot, and it's something children should not be watching. Like, why would kids watch Cocomelon on Disney Plus? Is on there and is far superior and brilliant. Wait, on Disney. Oh, you're probably mentioning Bluey. Also, it's worth noting the Bluey movie is coming out at the same year as the Cocomelon movie. Well, holy crap. Is 2027 suddenly going to be the year for preschool animated features? Like, honestly, it's funny how next year there's going to be that Paw Patrol movie. Like, I'm wondering if maybe Paramount could go and delay that to next year just so we could go and, like, have a whole bunch at once in 1 year. Like, have Paw Patrol, Bluey, Cocomelon all release their features. And you know what? Just by watching that clip, now I'm starting to question, how the fridge can you go and make a Cocomelon movie? Is it going to be like that for like an hour and a half? I have no freaking clue. Oh God, it just brings me, you know what it does remind me of? It makes me think of freaking Oogie Loves, because I saw someone just mention Oogie Loves, and that's what Cocomelon reminds me. Like the tone of what they want to do with the sing-alongs and the weird pop culture references. It's like Oogie Loves trying to come back, and now it's in cartoon form with a weird, ugly baby, and she, like, obviously low budgeted animation, just to like suddenly come back. That's the thing, man. But, Cocomelon reminds me of Oogie Loves. So yeah, I guess that's what I get for my curiosity. Anyways, I'm in my 30s. I don't have children, and I have never experienced blood vessels rupturing brain trauma. So Cocomelon is not for me. If Disney wants to have the franchise on their streaming for their streaming service, who am I to question their strategy? I'll stick with Bluey, Star Wars, Young Jedi Adventures, and Doc McStuffins if I want to watch Disney preschool content. But I must say, the fact that Disney Plus can now snag shows from Netflix gives me hope that it can save Inside Job. Oh boy, I mean, well, I was about to say, like, why would Disney go and pick up Inside Job? And then I realized, oh no, wait a minute, there is Hulu, so that could actually be a very strong possibility right there. Okay, I think I'm going to read one more comment, and then we're going to go and take our next break. Let's see. When I first heard about Cocomelon moving from Netflix to Disney Plus, I was like, what the heck is Disney doing? But even with that, I can't really complain much since Disney is currently the dominant force in preschool shows, so it's no big surprise. I did have a theory that Disney and Netflix had a discussion when it comes to rights. Netflix gets Sesame Street, so they decided to give them Cocomelon. Also, DreamWorks making a Cocomelon movie? Nah, a Bluey movie sounds more appealing. I don't know about that rumor. I don't think it would be like a trade-off. I can't really imagine that. I think it's more based on, like, my theory would be more the fact that it would be Moonbug Entertainment's decision to move from Netflix to Disney Plus in order to maintain the viewership and the relevancy of Cocomelon. I'm thinking that could be the reason, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I thought we would just have a bit of that discussion, and well, it gave me an excuse to figure out what the fridge is Cocomelon, and yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if I want to dive deeper into it. I want to stick to my opinion of whatever. It looks stupid, but it's just not for me. I want to stick to that because if I look more into Cocomelon, I feel like I would hate it more and more. So I'm not going to let that get it to me. All right, so we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, we're going to go and discuss about something that I know what it is, and oh boy, am I excited for it, especially when it's going to become the latest animated edition to the Criterion Collection, so stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story, we're going to go and talk about the Criterion Collection, which, for those of you who may not know, and if you are a movie fan, there is a good chance that you may have, but to catch you up on, for those who are not familiar with it, the Criterion Collection is considered to be a highly esteemed collection of some of the greatest movies or some of the most artistic movies out there, where every month Criterion would keep on adding a bunch of new films onto its collection so that they would go and release it on physical media, like on DVD, Blu-ray, and in 4K, to go and highlight what cinema is all about. But the big catch, however, with Criterion is that it's only once in a blue moon that it ever goes and adds an animated film onto its collection. It's unfortunately very, very rare. I mean, there's a lot of great movies to be discovered in Criterion or among its collection, but you won't find a whole bunch that are actually animated per se. In fact, I could count with one hand so far with how many animated films that they have included. And these are Fantastic Mr. Fox, Fantastic Planet, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Watership Down, and WALL-E. That's it. However, there was a recent announcement that there's now going to be a sixth one that's going to be coming out. Now, a lot of people are thinking, oh, are they finally going to release Flow onto the Criterion? Well, not on just the Criterion, but add Flow to the Criterion Collection and release the physical media of that? Well, no. I mean, that is in the works so far, but for now, there's going to be one before that. And this is actually thanks to a new collection that they have recently announced, which is called The Wes Anderson Archive, 10 Films, 25 Years. Now, this is a very special collection that is dedicated to the works of course, Wes Anderson, in which it highlights the 10 movies that he has done between 1996 and 2021. And of course, in this collection, you get a total of 20 Blu-rays, or not Blu-rays actually. You get 20 discs in which they are 4Ks and Blu-rays, each featuring a film by, or not each, but like you'll get the 4K and the Blu-ray of a Wes Anderson movie. And you can get all that, by the way, on top of like hours of bonus features. In fact, it even mentions that not only would you get 4K masters of the films, but you'd also get over 25 hours of special features, as well as 10 illustrated books presented in a deluxe cloth-bound edition. But on top of that, you can get it all for the low price of $399.96. So yeah, for $400, you can get the Wes Anderson Archive. And by the way, this is a special pre-order price, because then it will go up to its regular price of $500. All right, but I know, like, maybe that price would go and give you a heart attack, but what is it specifically that you get in this collection? Well, if you look right over here, the movies that are part of the Wes Anderson Archive include Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic of Steve Zissou, The Darjeeling Limited, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs, and finally, The French Dispatch of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun. Now, it is worth mentioning, by the way, that the grand majority of these movies are already part of the Criterion Collection, that you can get each individual movie as its own physical copy, that they each, you could just buy the individual films if you don't want to get the entire collection. Like if you just want to get Fantastic Mr. Fox and The Life Aquatic of Steve Zissou, you can go and do that. But the catch here is there are two in here that are not part of the Criterion Collection yet. And that is the final two in this, which is the Isle of Dogs and The French Dispatch of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun. Which is why, at the same time as this announcement right over here, at the same time as the Wes Anderson Archive is going to be released, they will also individually be releasing those last two films, which means that, yes, the latest and sixth animated addition to the Criterion Collection shall be Isle of Dogs, in which in here, yes, it will come with its own batch of special features and special stuff that you can get in this version of Isle of Dogs, in which it is stated here, reading from my source directly on Criterion's website, it says, new 4K digital master supervised and approved by director Wes Anderson with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack. And also you get one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. And by the way, it is also worth noting that you can either get the 4K plus Blu-ray, or if you want to go in a cheaper alternative, you can also buy the one Blu-ray as its own. Also, in terms of the actual special features they got, You also get audio commentary featuring Anderson and actor Jeff Goldblum, a feature-length storyboard animatic, the making of Isle of Dogs featuring animators, puppet makers, modelers, sculptors, set dressers, illustrators, production designers, and more. The visual comedy of Isle of Dogs, a video essay by filmmakers Taylor Ramos and Tony Zhu. Jupiter in the Studio featuring actor F. Murray Abraham touring the set. Animation tests, visual effects breakdowns, and behind the scenes and time-lapse footage. You also get a trailer of the movie, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by critic Moeko Fuiji, and a poster by cover artist Katsuhiro Otomo. And by the way, Katsuhiro Otomo is also the artist that made the cover that you see here of Isle of Dogs for Criterion. And all this with both Isle of Dogs and the Wes Anderson archive, that is all going to be available on September 30th. So it's still going to be a little while, and we got to wait until the end of the summer to do so. But yes, Isle of Dogs is now going to be part of the Criterion Collection. And honestly, I personally am very excited, mainly because I love this movie. I would even dare say, and this is a bit of a hot take, but considering that it was released back in 2018, I find Isle of Dogs to be better than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, yes, Into the Spider-Verse is a great revolutionary picture, but Isle of Dogs, that one feels like a masterpiece. It even got the upper edge compared to Spider-Verse. It is a fantastic feature all around. Not only do you get that great Wes Anderson style storytelling and filmmaking, but also you get a lot of charming characters, a lot of great humor, and just this really enjoyable original idea, seeing these dogs trying to rescue this boy, kind of like like kind of this inverse of this Find My Way Home kind of story. I will admit it's been a little bit of a while since I've seen the movie, but overall though, it is a great story, and not to mention having such a phenomenal all-star cast. Like, if you haven't seen the picture, I highly recommend you do so. And when it comes to this announcement right over here, the fact that it is going to be added to the Criterion Collection, I feel like it is about time. I feel like it's one of those announcements that it should have been done like years ago. Maybe like it should have been done during the pandemic, maybe, that they should have been added, or back when Isle of Dogs was pretty fresh, like it was still out of theaters and stuff like that. We should have had this one sooner, because this feels like an obvious addition to the Criterion Collection. And that is especially with the fact that this is brought to us by Wes Anderson. And when it comes to the Criterion Collection, they love Wes Anderson. I mean, I literally just talked about the fact that they are going to make an entire archive collection dedicated to that filmmaker. And the thing with Criterion is that whenever they have a favorite filmmaker, they will go out of their way to go and release their movies onto Criterion, even if it's just bit by bit. But generally, they would go and immediately, latch onto that filmmaker and really highlight their entire career, if they can. I mean, another example that I know of, like a filmmaker that they really love, is Guillermo del Toro. I know that they have released a bunch of his features. Maybe not all of them. Like, we have yet to see stuff like either Hellboy or Pacific Rim actually be released as part of the Criterion Collection. But they did put out some of his more artistic features, or at least ones that are not very, Hollywood-like per se. Films such as Pan's Labyrinth, or another example is The Shape of Water got a Criterion release. And just like what they did with Wes Anderson, even his animated edition, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, also ended up being added to Criterion. and then get a physical release, which is actually like an amazing moment right there, considering that it was an animated feature that was released on Netflix. So previously, there doesn't seem to be a way that Pinocchio would actually get a chance to find itself on a physical media. But then Criterion came in and that completely changed everything. And honestly, I'm glad they did so. So like we pretty much got the ultimate physical copy. And honestly, it's the physical copy that movie absolutely deserved. I still stand by. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's one of the best animated features we've gotten in this decade so far. So honestly, it's great to see that it was Criterion that handled Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, again, when they love a filmmaker, they will go and include their, they will include their filmography onto their collection, even if they seem like stuff that feels a bit out of place of what Criterion would do, including adding animation. And I think that really is the case with Wes Anderson. In fact, I would even say the first animated edition that Criterion actually did was Fantastic Mr. Fox. And that is mainly because of the factor of Wes Anderson himself. Like, they already love Wes Anderson, and they see Fantastic Mr. Fox, and they were like, you know what? Let's go and give it a shot. And that's why they went and added Fantastic Mr. Fox, which did open the gates for more animated features to come in. Now, they're only coming in like slowly but surely, but hopefully in the future, we will be seeing more, especially with the fact that Flow is eventually going to be coming up next. We don't know when exactly. Maybe they'll make an announcement pretty soon, but I don't know. I think like it's just a wait and see kind of situation. But yes, with all that said, of course it is definitely obvious with their love with Wes Anderson, they would go and also include Isle of Dogs onto this as well. So it was like what I said before. It was only a matter of time that they would go and do so. And I guess with the fact that they went out of their way to go and create this archive, then of course they would go and add Isle of Dogs as well. And one thing that I do want to mention, by the way, is that with Isle of Dogs, again, it is such an underrated film, and I really love this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, please do so. I think you can find it on Disney Plus if you can't find like a physical copy of it. But there have been times when even Isle of Dogs actually did get a bit of popularity. In fact, I actually do recall there was a moment where there was a meme that went around a few years ago based on Isle of Dogs. And honestly, it was a moment that gave me a good laugh. And I just want to have a chance to go and show you what I'm talking about. I actually do have an example here. Maybe you might be familiar with what it is. So let me just show you.
Before we attack each other and tear ourselves to shreds like a pack of maniacs, let's just open the sack first and see what's actually in it. It might not even be worth the trouble.
Hi. Okay, it's worth it.
Okay, hold on. Okay. I get it, French A&W. Honestly, I love that meme. Like, the thing is that the joke in the film, it works great in itself, even with the context, even when you see the movie. Like, that is such a great, hilarious moment. But when I saw that actually turn into a meme and people use it to go and like show that, yes, the thing I love is worth fighting for, that's honestly great. And some of the funniest ones that I've seen are usually the ones that people would like simp for. Like, the one that I showed is an example, like, they showed a character from Doki Doki Literature Club. I remember there was one, like, a few years back. I remember seeing that, they showed this, they showed the meme, they showed the dogs opening the bag, and it was just a bunch of, like, fan art or fan animations of Gwen Stacy doing some sexy poses, and then like it immediately cuts to like right like that ending you saw, like, okay, it's worth it. Honestly, it's just fantastic. Love that, honestly love that meme, and I love that scene in the movie. So that's just like a little bit of a taste of what I wanted to go and show you of Isle of Dogs. And again, definitely a great addition here. And honestly, this is something that I highly recommend animation fans to go and get. If you don't have Isle of Dogs on physical media, if you don't have it either on DVD or Blu-ray, this is your chance to do so. And with Criterion, they will make every single cent worth it on this. And by the way, before I go and talk to the chat wall here, I just want to go and make this statement. I want to give you all a good tip in terms of buying this Blu-ray or 4K. So the thing is that you can go and choose to pre-order it right now. Like if you go on Criterion's website, you could choose to go and make your pre-order immediately, and you can get the 4K and Blu-ray for $40, or you could get just the Blu-ray for $32. You can go and do that, or you can wait for the flash sale. Now, what I'm saying is that wait until after it does come out. Wait until after September 30th, and wait until there is the flash sale. And for those of you who don't know, the flash sale is that it's a special little event that Criterion does, in which for 24 hours, just on that little 24-hour window, everything that Criterion has is 50% off. Like literally everything that you could find on Criterion is half off. From the little DVDs, from the little Blu-rays that you could get of individual movies, to the massive collections that were worth hundreds of dollars, you can go and actually get it half off. That's usually the big event that movie fans have been waiting for in order to go and like get the big deals so that they could get half off on whatever they want to go and get. And trust me, I've honestly gotten a whole bunch of Criterion movies based on that alone. That's how I was able to go and get many of my animated films from Criterion. That is also how I got a bunch of like other movies that I really love, like how I got Parasite, how I got Pan's Labyrinth on Criterion. That's how I even got the big collection that they have. Like one of the most popular things that they would sell in Criterion is this massive Godzilla collection of all the Showa films, from the original Godzilla all the way up to, I believe, Destroy All Monsters. So yeah, honestly, it is a sale that is absolutely worth it. And I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye out on the next flash sale that's going to happen after the Blu-ray is released. So now, honestly, there are a few things that I'm personally aiming for in order to go and get. Like, there are a few other movies that I want to have so that I'm not just going to go and buy Isle of Dogs. I want to make my purchase worthwhile, and I'll be getting some extra movies at the same time, because honestly, shipping will definitely be a lot for me. So I might as well go and buy a big bulk of it instead of just a little thing in which the shipping might be like really extra, might even cost more than the thing that I purchase it. So that's what I'm going to be aiming for on this. But all this to go and say, if you guys are excited for Isle of Dogs to come out as part of the Criterion Collection, or if you really are excited for the Wes Anderson archives to come out, then keep in mind that they're both going to be released on September 30th. And with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about Isle of Dogs now being added to the Criterion Collection? And while we're at it, is there any other animated features you would love to see be added to the Criterion Collection? Let me know what you all think. All right, so let's see. I'm glad Isle of Dogs is finally getting the Criterion Collection treatment. This was one of the films I was expected to be added in, since all of Wes Anderson's films are there, and I just got Anora last month. I can't wait to own it along with Flo. Now the big question is, what other animated films would be perfect for Criterion? Fantasia would be a perfect fit for it. Oh my God, absolutely. Like, especially, you know what? This year would actually be absolutely perfect. I mean, keep in mind, this year, Fantasia is going to be turning 85, and that would be such an awesome way to go and commemorate its anniversary. You know, for Disney to team up with Criterion to go and release that grand special edition of that movie. I mean, they've already collaborated on WALL-E, so I can imagine they could probably do so again with Criterion. And not to mention that Disney can also go and handle the remastering. Like, honestly, it's, you know, I'm surprised that Disney hasn't done any more of these, because they've done a phenomenal job in terms of remastering Snow White and Cinderella in 4K. I'm wondering what's the holdup. When is the next 4K remaster going to happen? Because honestly, I feel like Fantasia would definitely be one that would greatly benefit in terms of that treatment, and then have some kind of great, you know, this big release like for Criterion. So honestly, I want to keep my eye out on that for sure. Let's see now. This is definitely some exciting news. Seeing Isle of Dogs gets added to the Criterion Collection is great, especially with Wes Anderson's movies always being a favorite. So it really isn't any surprise it would get added to this. Definitely, so it would get added to this. So this is definitely something that is really exciting for physical media collectors. Also, what animated film would you want to see be added to the Criterion Collection? Well, for me, of course, like, I mean, Fantasia is my favorite movie, so of course I want to see Fantasia there. But at the same time, I also want to see the parody be released, Allegro Non Troppo. Not only have that movie be highlighted by Criterion, but also have it be something that honors the legacy of to have it be honored the legacy of the director Bruno Bozzetto. I feel like it would be it would be great to go and highlight some of his works as well. And, you know, I've seen people bring up a bunch that would actually be some great fits as well, you know, like Toy Story or The Secret of NIMH. But, you know, another one I would say that could also make a great addition, like, honestly, like maybe like one of, but I would say add a film by Ralph Bakshi. Like, honestly, I think Ralph Bakshi, like, with the films that he has made back in the 1970s, they would actually be a solid fit. Like, I can imagine them, like, not just, like, with Fritz the Cat, but do, like, some kind of collection of Ralph Bakshi. Like, have, like, a trilogy of films, like, with, so I don't know why I'm hesitating. It's just that it's hard to try to, like, get the words out of, like, on his movies. You know, stuff like Fritz the Cat, Heavy Traffic, Coonskin, Hey Good Looking. Like, add these features and, like, have it be part of the collection to honor the legacy of Ralph Bakshi. Like, that would honestly be a great one to add. Let's see now. And some people are even mentioning, like, maybe American Pop as well, or his version of Lord of the Rings. Oh, Pixar Soul is another great one. Oh my goodness. I didn't get to watch Isle of Dogs, but man, I need to give it a chance one day, given I've heard amazing things about it. Plus, I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox for the first time last year. The fact that it's finally gonna be on Criterion Collection is admirable. Didn't got much to say, so I'm very happy. Also, A&W Canada mentioned, my friend from Canada wanted me to try it. You know what? It's fine. Oh boy, and I do see some people are also bringing up a bunch that I'm noticing here. Like, a lot of people are saying Walt Disney's Pinocchio as well. Maybe some of the Studio Ghibli films like Spirited Away or Grave of the Fireflies. That could be, or even My Neighbor Totoro. Some people are bringing up Plague Dogs as well, considering that they did release Watership Down. So, I mean, these are all great suggestions, and hopefully somebody at Criterion is listening so that we can have more cartoons in Criterion. Are they going to listen? Will they actually do it? I guess that's going to be, we're going to wait and see, but we might as well make the most with the little materials that we have. So again, if you are excited to go and check out Isle of Dogs on Criterion, or want to have the entire Wes Anderson archives, then keep in mind that it will be released on September 30th. And now we're going to go on to one more break. And when we do come back, we're going to go and have a major discussion, not just on one movie in particular, but how things are with kids' entertainment in general. And we're going to go and try to answer the big question, why is it that with kids' entertainment, they don't feel as good as what they used to be? Well, stay tuned, and we're going to have a heck of an interesting discussion. And now, everyone, it is time that we will go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And for this grand finale, we're going to go on to a major discussion. But first and foremost, though, I do want to go and bring up one particular movie, considering that it does relate to what we will be talking about. And that is what is currently the biggest movie in theaters, Lilo and Stitch, or specifically the Lilo and Stitch remake. Now, I know that in the last episode, I did talk about that film and how chaotic things have been. In fact, I would argue that even though the movie was a massive success, the reactions to it, like, I wouldn't say it's mixed. I would say it's just absolutely chaotic and insane, the way that people have been looking upon it, how they've been expressing their opinions, and how they feel so strongly about what is going on, rather it be with the movie itself or with the whole trend of the with live action remakes or some of the changes that the movie has done. Like, it's just been pure madness. And let's be honest here, it's all exactly what Stitch would have wanted. Like, honestly, he would want his movie to both be a success and have everyone's reactions be a chaotic mess in itself. And I know that when it comes to my case in particular, when I did talk about it, yes, I still feel like even though there are some like good criticisms towards the remake that I do agree upon, I do feel like the overall reaction, yes, it is a bit over-exaggerated. And I know I've gotten quite the backlash from people who are pissed off at the existence of this remake. And yeah, it did stir into a bit of a controversy, which is why I also put out this lengthy post on social media a few days back, just pretty much explaining myself, because I knew that with this whole thing with the Lilo and Stitch remake, it would put me into a similar position when I got massive backlash over my Wish review, just on the factor that I was a little bit more positive to it, and that I decided not to jump onto the hate train like most of the people on the internet. And with that said, though, I just want to go and give out a huge thanks to many of you who have supported me during that time. I mean, again, with controversies, it's not easy to go through, especially like when you're in the center of it all. And yeah, this is a situation that shouldn't even be a controversy in the first place. But unfortunately, with the toxicity of the cartoon community, even something that is as small and minor as having a different opinion than what others say on the internet can be a subject of drama, unfortunately. So from there, again, I want to go and say thank you all so much for your support during these times. And thank you for having a moment to actually listen to me, even if what I say on my podcast or what I write on social media can be quite lengthy, but at least I can have a chance to explain myself. And I want to thank you for listening. But with that said, though, this is not about that in particular. What I want to talk about is something that is bigger than the Lilo and Stitch remake. In fact, it's actually regarding this particular article here. It's an opinion piece on Slashfilm that is called "The Fans Angry at the Live-Action Lilo and Stitch's Box Office Success Are Missing the Point" by B.J. Colangelo. I think that's how you say his name. But I want to go and state right now, if you guys have the chance, please go and read this article. It is very insightful. It is very interesting, and it does give you a pretty good perspective, or a new perspective, on how things are in terms of kids' entertainment. And I know that's like a pretty bold claim in general, but the first thing that it wants to go and bring up is the current tactics that animation fans have been doing so far, and that is to go out of their way and try to make this a failure as desperately as they can. And what they do is that they go after audiences. It's a little bit like what I talked about last week. You know, the tactics of trying to discourage them in any way they can so that the movie somehow becomes a failure. You know, the whole mantra of vote with your wallet. And that's why you see people to say, like, don't go and watch this movie. It's very problematic. It's harmful towards Native Americans. Look at all these changes they did, and shove it onto people's faces, all the spoilers of what occurred in that movie. And this article would go and argue that that's a pretty bad idea. You do not win if you go after the audience. In fact, it's not the audience's fault that the movie has become a massive success. In fact, going down like near the bottom of this article, it even states here, right over, yeah, I might as well go and read like the whole final paragraph, in which it states that the villains in this Lilo and Stitch situation aren't the parents trying to bring joy to their children. I shouldn't go and, no, I shouldn't read that one over here. That's a little bit spoilers of what's going to be to come. But yeah, or you know what? Oh, wait, where is it actually? Is it this one? Or I think, but, hold on a sec. Yeah, okay, no. It's right over here. Yeah, so parents are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Studios are not sending their best in terms of children's entertainment because they don't have to, and the standards for programming TV are becoming non-existent. So that's going to go and highlight what's going to be to come right over here. But or would it be more in the beginning? Because, oh, yes. Okay, no, this is what I wanted. Wow. Okay, sorry, folks. Okay, this is what I wanted to go and bring up. So it says here, of course, cultural enrichment beyond the multiplex matters, like museums, libraries, zoos, parks, etc. But weaponizing deprivation, as some folks are currently suggesting as a way to punish Disney into making more original films, is ethically bankrupt because it requires children to bear the consequences of capitalism's failures and studios' creatively conservative cowardice. Expecting parents to boycott the only family film available feels like a protest and more like a form of feels less like a protest and more like a form of punitive abstinence that punishes children for the failure of international structural tapings laid by the industry. Vote for your dollar only works when there's another option. So basically, that's the big thing that's one of the big things that the article wants to go and say. It's pretty much that going after the audience or trying to tell them what to do, it doesn't actually work because, number one, you don't actually have control what other people could actually go and do. And number two, the people who go and watch it, they don't have any bad intentions. They want to have their own form of escapism. And not to mention, parents want to go and encourage kids to have a love of cinema as well. And if it and honestly, the real thing is that they don't really have much materials to work with in the first place. And if it would require watching the Lilo and Stitch remake in order to do so, then you know what? So be it. So that's why going after audiences, regardless of whatever strategies you want them to do, tell them to not go see it or try to ruin it for them. It is not gonna work whatsoever. So if it's not that, then what is the problem? Well, this is where the article would bring up some very interesting theories. And the biggest one of them all is the fact that there has not been much competition in the first place. And I think that is something that not many people have realized, but it's like kind of plainly obvious in front of our faces. When it comes to movies that have been released in theaters, there's very little that has actually come out in terms of the options for kids and families. Like they have, honestly, it feels like they've been diminishing more and more, where now it's kind of like a rare opportunity that a movie would be released that is aimed for younger audiences. And a great example of this is by looking at what we have gotten so far. Keep in mind, time flies fast, and we are almost at the halfway point of 2025. We've already gone through 5 months. And even though there have been a few smaller films that have been released from time to time, stuff like Sneaks or The King of Kings or whatever, but when it comes to the big movies that are aimed for kids and families, we have only gotten 4 so far. There was Dogman back in January. There was a Minecraft movie back in I'm doing it in the wrong order. Dogman in January, the Snow White remake in March, a Minecraft movie in April, and Lilo and Stitch in May. And so far, that's it. And when we do include June, then we can also include the How to Train Your Dragon remake and Elio. And that's it. And from there, you notice how far and few between that they actually are, which means that in terms of those movies released in theaters, there's a lot less competition. They don't necessarily have to worry about others coming in and might interfere with the profits that they could make at the box office. So that's why they're just going straight and just, do their own thing. Don't have to worry about the competition or whatever, because there's not really all that much in the first place. They know that the thing that they're offering, they could do whatever they want, and there's a chance that maybe it could go and turn into a profit. And yeah, nowadays, in 2025, so far, the big examples of what we have in terms of kids' entertainment for movies released in theaters are just a Minecraft movie and the Lilo and Stitch remake. And yeah, even though they have their respective audiences, we all know that they're not great examples of cinema whatsoever. They're not great examples of what should be a movie for kids and families. You could tell they're corporately made, and they do have their own problematic factors. But the point is, however, is that those are the examples that we have in 2025 because we don't have anything else. And then there is also the other factor in terms of television, where there used to be some good substance put into it, but then, well, unfortunately, things have very much changed. And in terms of that, well, let's just say you could thank the Trump administration. So if I could quickly go and jump onto, if I go back to the article right over here, there is one segment, this one part that I am confident, this is the one right over here, to which it states, the Children's Television Act of 1990 mandated that there would be a protection spot in broadcasting core programming around 30 minutes long that required media specifically designed to serve the educational and informational needs of children 16 years of age and under, including the child's intellectual, cognitive, and or social emotional needs. This call inspired the creation of shows like The Magic School Bus and Bill Nye and the Science Guy. But even then, many broadcasting networks fought like hell against the requirement. The regulations were revamped in 1996, where the FCC ordered all commercial television stations must broadcast at least 3 hours of core educational programming per week, regularly scheduled between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. So back in the 1990s and in the 2000s and even during the 2010s, there was actually a law that was mandated in the US that there needs to have some form of substance, that there needs to be this educational aspect to go and teach kids and sometimes teens as well to go and, to provide them some lessons, to go and actually teach them something, to make their time watching on television actually be valued. And I mean, yeah, sure, there are some stuff prior that, like, they could put out brain rot, but at least if they can make the quota of putting out that educational content, then that is what matters. So what happened to it, though? Well, but in 2019, the FCC under the Trump administration decided to provide greater flexibility with that regulation to accommodate the popularity of streaming services, overlooking the fact that not everyone can afford multiple or even one streaming service with access to educational children's media. In the pre-streaming era, a cash-strapped family could ostensibly afford the one-time payment of a TV set and an antenna, and would subsequently receive over-the-air broadcasts for the major networks for free. Analog signals were officially cut in 2009, and the world transitioned to digital. And unfortunately, now that we are under a new Trump administration, things are getting worse, in which right over here, it states that the standards for programming on TV are becoming non-existent. So much so that when the FCC argued to roll back the restrictions of the Television Children's Act in 2019 for commercial broadcasters, they specifically identified PBS as a primary source of educational television to justify the erosion. So back then, when they decided to go and take down that act, they pretty much said that, well, at least we got PBS. Like, they're doing more than enough they're doing more than enough on everyone's part to go and provide educational television. If you need that kind of educational television, just go and watch PBS. But then this year, the Trump administration is butchering the budget for PBS, citing concerns of woke propaganda, which thankfully there has been a happy ending to that, especially like in terms of Sesame Street, or partially a happy ending. We know Sesame Street is being saved thanks to Netflix stepping in to go and help them out. So there is that factor as well. But the point is that even with television, the standards are pretty much gone. There used to be a law that required for television to have standards, but nowadays they decided to completely remove it because of streaming. And now with the Trump administration, it looks like those it looks like now there will be no standards anywhere. Like, even that educational aspect is pretty much gone. And honestly, I find it to be a very fascinating theory. And I personally want to go and add my 2 cents. I want to add into this theory that I feel like, honestly, there are 2 extra factors that I believe added on to this. Why is it that with kids' entertainment, like the quality of that has been suffering because of the lack of competition, at least in terms of movies? And I would say, number 1, it's because of streaming. And the big thing with streaming is that they provide extra platforms for movies to go and release their stuff, where now it is optional if they can go and release a movie onto the big screen. Because if the studio does not have that much faith if it'll do well at the box office, they can always go and choose to go onto streaming. Because especially with streaming, they can have they don't have to go and they don't have to go and handle many of the responsibilities when it comes to releasing a film by themselves. Because then, if they go and choose to put it onto streaming, they won't have to worry too much about most of the marketing. They don't have to worry about the performance at the box office. And they don't have to worry about how things are going to be with the later releases, like having it be released digitally or having some form of physical media. They could just sell it, they could just go and sell it to a streaming platform like Netflix or Amazon Prime, get a little bit over what it costs, okay, I have this movie, I made it for $80 million, I'll sell it for you for $100 million. And then, boom, that's it. The responsibility is done, and they don't have to learn any lesson afterwards. They could just give it to Netflix, and they're completely finished. And that is why nowadays, honestly, there have been fewer and fewer, like in terms of animation, there have been fewer and fewer animation studios that are regularly releasing movies in theaters. And so far, the only ones that I can think of that have actually consistently been doing so are Disney Animation, Pixar, DreamWorks, and Illumination. And that's a massive problem because those four only come from two different companies, from Disney and Universal. That's it. Everyone else, however, it kind of flip-flops. Like, you got Warner Brothers right now, who are in really bad condition. Like, they're pretty much at the point that because they've been facing failure after failure after failure with films like The Lego Movie 2, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and Tom and Jerry, that now they're undergoing a massive rebrand to see if they could try again releasing animated features on the big screen. And then you have Sony Pictures, who almost has given up on releasing movies in theaters. Like, so far, the only one that they have released in this decade is just Across the Spider-Verse, and the only two that we know that they'll have afterwards is the GOAT basketball movie and Beyond the Spider-Verse. That's it. Everything else that they have released so far this decade and what they have in store is just going to be released on Netflix. That's it. And then you also have Paramount, whom from time to time they are trying. If they have like this, if they have a big name franchise that has a new movie, they'll go and put it out on the big screen, stuff like Paw Patrol or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Transformers. But then they would also have some original stuff that they wouldn't even care, and they'll either just release their original movie on Paramount, or they would release whatever smaller budgeted SpongeBob movie onto Netflix. So it's like, Paramount is like, maybe. They're putting in a bit more effort than Sony, but still, they're not doing as much. So you could see that with streaming, like, that has given studios the options to just completely skip the big screen, and thus reducing the amount of competition, and from there, consequentially, reduces the need to take risks. And you've probably heard of this complaint again and again from other reviewers, when people would go and say, like, oh, honestly, this movie is boring. This movie plays it safe. They're not taking risks. Oh, it frustrates me how bland and generic it is. Why are they playing it so safe? And yes, there is a factor to it that a lot of it is because of money, because they're prioritizing profits. They just want to please the audience and try to be a good movie and stuff like that. Now, there is that factor. But the biggest reason why you don't see many movies nowadays actually take risks is actually because they don't need to. There's no reason to go and actually put on, to actually take risks, to go and try new things, to try to really be experimental and say, all right, let's try something different. Let's see if maybe this can work in order to attract audiences. The reason why they're not doing so is because they don't have to do so. They're basically following Illumination's template, where they don't have to care what critics have to say. They don't have to care about trying to make some amazing feature. They could just stick to what they know will most likely work, put it out in theaters, and they could turn in a massive profit. I mean, if it's been working for Illumination, where they have been playing it safe ever since, like, maybe since the beginning, and they have been making movies that could even surpass $1 billion at the box office, then it can pretty much be good for everyone else. And that's why you don't see, like, it's unfortunately rare to see movies actually take risks. In fact, the standards of what can be considered a risk has really gone down. It's gone very much down. Like, now, what is considered taking a risk is releasing an original animated movie on the big screen. Like, it's just that. That's it. Have it not be based on, like, a book, on a popular franchise, or anything like that. Just be its own original thing. And that's why right now, the next movie that's going to take a massive risk is going to be Elio. And beforehand, it would be some of the animated films of 2023 that would be considered the ones that took the biggest risks. Films like Elemental, Ruby Gillman, Wish, and Migration, all because those films were original movies. And say what you will, but at least, say what you will about these movies, but at least they did try. So that's why I wanted to go and really highlight that the lack of competition, and because of streaming, giving movies the option of not be released in theaters and just go straight to streaming, it makes it less likely to have competition and less likely to have the need to go and take risks. And then there's also the second thing I want to bring up, and that is the pandemic. Because whatever problems that the cinema had beforehand, it completely amplified. It pretty much gave us a glimpse of what happens when we no longer have movies in theaters, and immediately put studios in a rush decision to try to take action to find alternatives and make them question if movie theaters can be viable even after the pandemic. And that's why we've seen many companies decide to release their movies straight to digital or move their films onto streaming like Disney Plus and Netflix and stuff like that. And that's why, many people have talked about how it was quite a detriment when Disney released their films such as, like the Pixar films like Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, make them into Disney Plus exclusives, and how, that did affect the box office of many of their films following afterwards, like with Encanto, Strange World, Elemental, Lightyear, Wish, and stuff like that. But then you also have some whom at the same time, they decided that they're going to stay, like with Sony Animation. When the pandemic happened, they moved their movies to Netflix, and they've so far been staying on Netflix for the most part. And this is not even to mention how it pretty much amplified some of the other factors, like how it really feels like it's only been IP movies that can be successful, and that's it. Where it's extremely rare that original movies can have a chance. That's why, this is exactly why Sinners has been getting great praise, because that film has been doing the impossible and has been very successful, even though that is a completely original movie right there. So when you factor in all these elements, when you factor in the lack of competition, when you factor in streaming, when you factor in the aftermath of the pandemic, and then when you factor in the Trump administration and some of the changes that they have done in terms of standards on television, this is pretty much why nowadays, what is considered the standards of kids entertainment, it has gone significantly down. And that's why, nowadays, you cannot go and blame audiences for wanting to have their entertainment with what they can get. The reason why you see movies that are either mediocre or subpar at best, movies that are not considered great, such as a Minecraft movie or the Lilo and Stitch remake, why they have been getting massive success, and that so far they've either been close to getting $1 billion at the box office or about to get $1 billion at the box office. It's not because of the decision of audiences. It's because audiences did not have a choice. It's because of the lack of competition that has been going on. Now, I know that I've been talking a lot, but I just want to go and quickly have a restart in terms of the timer, because soon, there will be an ad that shall be coming up. So I'm going to come back and I'll go and put in my final thoughts, and then I'll go and ask you all, what do you think on the situation? So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So overall, going back into the main point, or what I have talked about in the very beginning, the thing is with all this is that the problem with why is it that movies like a Minecraft movie and the Lilo and Stitch remake are very successful right now, it's not because of the audience, but it's mainly because of the current system in cinema. It's regarding the fact that right now, we are in an age of cinema where, at least for kids and entertainment, for kids and families, there's not really a whole lot of competition that's causing studios to have pressure to go and actually take risks with their movies. That a lot of them, yes, they do feel like they're just trying to cash in on like the fad or the popularity of the popular IP that they are based on, but they're just sticking to what ultimately works and don't have to make that change. And because of this lack of competition, because of what's been going on with the Trump administration, with streaming, and with all that kind of stuff, right now, it's an issue that it ends up being far greater than anything that people can do to control. And this is why, honestly, with all this, I understand if this is something that people don't necessarily want to hear. And that's mainly because it doesn't sound like something that they could really do in order to go and make a change. Like, there's not something that they can individually do in order to take action, in order to help make things better. Like, in order to stop these live action remakes and see more original stuff and stuff like that. It's not as easy as trying to vote with your wallet or anything like that. And if you're trying to go after the audience in order to take down a movie, then again, it's not going to work. And you're far more likely to lose them and to detract them from your own cause than to actually get them to be on board with you in order to be against this. Because regardless of how you may feel of stuff like the Lilo and Stitch remake and a Minecraft movie, their success doesn't necessarily come from the quality of the picture itself, but it's mainly because with kids and families, they don't really have anything else. I mean, of course, you cannot bring your kid to freaking Sinners or anything like that, but the thing is that they can only work with what they can in order to have their own form of escapism and in order to go and educate their children on having a love for cinema. So that's really the big thing that I wanted to go and highlight with this particular story. I want to go and help educate people and to, basically spread the message that this article has brought up, to go and have them understand with what is actually going on. Like, why is it that we're having movies like a Minecraft movie and the Lilo and Stitch remake instead of something that's actually great? Like, why is it that it's very rare that we would have something like The Wild Robot or Inside Out 2, and we would just end up with, stuff like this that are more like corporately made crowd pleasers than actual good, some good movies out there. So I just want to go and lay that out. Now, with that said, I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about this entire piece here? What do you all think about the current system of cinema that is very much, that's becoming less dependent on competition and taking risks? I know I've said a lot here, but I would like to know what you all think. All right. Now, let's see here. It's really sad that the standards are now being gone due to one incompetent and lazy leader. Without any educational values or lessons in preschool shows, how can we learn the ABCs to read or even learn about culture and history? Many of our childhood shows build us to become smart, kind, and creative. I understand with movies and shows, they want to be less risky, but still. At least in terms of television, there were laws that had standards, but now they're unfortunately gone. And a big part of it is trying to adapt to this new age of entertainment by bringing streaming in. At least this is another one about TV. I can't believe the whole reason why entertainment for kids and families is declining in quality is because of stuff like the Trump administration damaging the Children's Television Act, the pandemic making streaming services popular thanks to theaters shutting down during that time, and caused an entire generation of children and families to have different options for entertainment. It just sucks that entertainment has been having issues like these because of the pandemic and the lack of competition. All right. This is definitely unfortunate. Look, I'm not a fan of live action remakes, but the audience should never be blamed for a movie's success. It really has to do with the fact with how Trump is trying to make children stupid. On top of how the pandemic really screwed over movie theaters, it really does paint a dark picture. Also, like you said, you did not deserve the backlash for your opinion on the Lilo and Stitch remake, and never let anyone dictate your opinions. Exactly. That's like one of the big things that I want to go and say in this. It's not the audience's fault if a movie you don't like somehow becomes massively successful. You're not going to win if you go after audience like trying to like gaslight them into not wanting to watch this movie, or, going after people who openly express that they like the film. You're not going to win anyone over if you're going to go and do that. If you have a problem with the movie, just stick it to the movie. Don't be mad at the audiences. Don't be mad at the audience. Don't be mad at fans. Don't be mad at people who have different opinions than you. All right? Because again, the problem is far greater than the audience, and things won't go your way if you're going to go and try to say vote with your wallet. Even if, I'll even say, even if the Lilo and Stitch remake became a box office bomb, it would not solve the bigger problem whatsoever, and it would most likely not discourage Disney from making more live action remakes. I'm just saying. Let's see what else we got here. I could see why many families would see the Lilo and Stitch remake. I don't blame them whatsoever. But when these cartoon reviewers go after people that do enjoy the movie, then this is where I decided to stop watching animation reviewers, with the exception of you and Animated Antic. You are still cool. I really do hope families do check out Elio later this month, since it is a new Pixar film that people do know. But we'll see how this film plays out, since some cartoon reviewers are trying to sabotage. Really? Are they already preparing to hate Elio? Like, honestly, that is a new low right there. Like, seriously, like, this is the one time that Disney is doing exactly what they're asking you, like doing an original film, and yet you're still gonna reject it. What? Are you planning on hating on Elio and then telling people go and watch the How to Train Your Dragon remake instead? Because that certainly ain't hypocritical at all. At least I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that is not true. Seriously. Anyways, what other comments are there? Let's see. Indie or mainstream, there is that factor that people wanting to find happiness and a very good time whenever they can with each medium in these tumultuous times. They cannot afford the distress of bearing in mind controversies regarding voice actors, like with Glitch or Hoyoverse, ethics to make the works, like removal of drag in the Lilo and Stitch remake, or even like the change of what happened to Lilo at the end, and anything of the sorts. I'm cool with normal folks getting enjoyment out of what is available. Exactly. You gotta keep in mind, we're in a pretty depressing time, and people are just trying to find their way in order to have a piece of escapism, in order to have fun, in order to have a taste of happiness. And if they want that from the Lilo and Stitch movie, then that's fine. The thing is, if you're going after them, then you're basically trying to force them to remain miserable. Like, oh, you shouldn't like this because of this, or this. And I mean, I'm not saying that those arguments are not valid, but the thing is that you're not going to win anyone over if you want them to remain miserable and to try to make them always, to make them feel angry 24/7. If they need their escapism, even if it requires them to watch live action remakes, then let them have that. Let them have some time of happiness. Because again, the problem is not the audience. The problem is the current system with Hollywood in general. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment and then we're going to cap this off here. All I could say is you're really on point. The value of entertainment has drained over the past decade, and even I noticed it throughout the beginning of the year has been lacking. Everything these days are hardly original and based on IP existing projects, including movies and TV. However, the purpose of it all is mainly to feel free from the troubles or even be inspired by what we see to share with others. Even with the lack of competition, take what you get and fly with it. All opinions matter. Exactly, my dude. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this one. And join me next week for more crazy adventures that will come on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So, if you want to go and follow more of whatever is going to be coming out here, then all you have to do is subscribe to the AniMat Live Twitch channel or the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. Don't forget, you can also go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and more. And with that said, I want to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.